think we are live.
We are. Welcome to the Key Team Show. It is our little lunchtime break, and we are going to come live to you every Tuesday and basically answer all of your questions that you have for the two of us, real estate, financing, and anything in between. We'll have some guests that will come in and talk about some topics, but this is just a place where you can pop in, ask whatever questions that you may have, and we'll get you the answers. I'm Lindsay. I'm from Keystone Mortgage Solutions, and I have been in some sort of the mortgage industry since 1997. It is all that I know. It's all that I've done. I'm kind of stuck here, and I'm still learning on a daily basis because things change so much in our industry.
Yeah.
So I have lots of experience with very different scenarios through the time that I've done this career. Miss Kayla McDonald. No, you're okay. Miss Kayla McDonald from RE/MAX Alliance Group is part of our key team, and I'll let her introduce herself and tell a little bit about herself.
Yes. So my name is Kayla McDonald. I am a real estate agent with RE/MAX Alliance Group, and I've been in the real estate industry for about 3 years now. I've known Lindsay for, what do you think, like 8-9 years or something?
Well, yeah, Christian's 10. I mean, he'll be 9. So I would say pretty much right after I had him. 8 or 9 years.
Yeah. So we met at a local gym, and I really didn't have any aspiration to be in real estate at that time, but I was kind of, I guess you could say, I was pushed into it. It was a strong suggestion by my fiance, and he's like, I think you'd be really great at this. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get into it. And it turns out I really love it. And it's just been a really, really great ride. Learning every day. Like Lindsay said, this industry is ever changing, and it's one of those things I don't think is ever going to stop changing. It changes when the interest rates change, which I think we'll touch on that in a little bit. It changes with just anything that goes on in the economy. So it's really fun and really interesting to have learned what I've learned so far, and continue to learn and be able to work with people, like Lindsay, who has been in this industry for a lot longer than I have. And she was actually one of the first people that I called after I got licensed. I'm like, hey, I just got my real estate license. Now what? Like, what do I do? So it's been fun that she has educated me on the mortgage end, and just from her experience. And we've been, it's nice for us to have worked as a team. And my slogan is Kayla's got the keys, she's Keystone. So here we are, the key team. And I find that that's always really helpful too when I am working with somebody I have not only a business relationship with, but a personal relationship with as well. I think that it helps our clients. It benefits them because we have that relationship and trust in one another. Doesn't matter if something comes up, because sometimes it does during a transaction. It seems easier to be able to get through it together.
Yeah, you team up. You get to the end, you get through it. Things happen, and we communicate, and it's a much easier conversation than, if I'm working with you, somebody that I know and work with on a daily basis, to have that conversation, because sometimes it's uncomfortable. We're not expecting things to go wrong, but on occasion it does. So a conversation with you or somebody that I've never met, you're like, oh goodness, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? But when you have that relationship and that you can get through it all the way to the end, it definitely makes that conversation go a lot smoother, and know that you have somebody on your side that's going to help battle through it, rather than be upset and emotional.
Yeah. That's definitely really nice. And it helps too that I think that, we refer business to each other. We help each other out if we have a scenario going on or a question about something, because, whether it's just a hypothetical situation or with another client, it's nice to have somebody you can call that you can ask these questions to, and they answer their phone, almost all the time, or say, hey, I'll call you back, I'm at a meeting, and they call you back.
Yeah.
So,
I was thinking that, although you've been doing this for 3 years, you've really, really have taken the time to educate yourself and to work with, people that, and you grasp all of that. And I think that even though I've been doing it for so long, like, you teach me things all the time just from having those conversations of scenarios that you run into, and what that solution was, because I'm not on that side. But the more that I know about your side, and the more that you know about my side, I think that's what makes it even that much better to convey all of that information to a client, because there's a lot that goes on in the whole entire transaction, from the application being pre-approved to inspections, and even you showing homes and open houses, and just the things that come up along the way. So I just think that it's really important that that you have somebody that you work well with together, and can continue to keep those conversations with the customer smooth, and educate them through the entire transaction. We do this every day. They do it a couple times in their life, maybe. So, working with you has been really a blessing. And, I look forward to all of our transactions that we have together. They're more, not really transactions because they're continuous, but in the same breath, like, I'm always grateful when you're on the other side.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that really does mean a lot, because I know sometimes people, whether they're in the industry or not, think, in any profession, really, like, oh, you've only been doing this for 3 years. 3 years is actually a really decent amount of time to be doing something. And like you said, especially if you educate yourself and you do have that experience.
Yeah, you're just not like flying by the seat of your pants. You really do, like, take the time to make sure that you're educated, and you're right here, local in Florida, in Pasco County. And I think that is important as well, especially because you've been here, the area, the
Yeah.
pros and the cons and everything in between. And although I've been here for quite some time now, gosh, I've actually been in Florida now for, I guess, 19 years, going on 20 years. So I've been around for a while, but even still, not as long as you have. When you're born here, like, it's different. This is your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been here for 19 years, and I still call, Maryland's my home. It's really not. Like, my home is here. I've probably been here longer than I was in Maryland, but, like, that's where my family is. So,
right. Yeah. No, it's it definitely, I think, makes a difference. And it's crazy to see, like, how many people move here, and everybody out, it always is astonished when I tell them I'm born and raised here. And
I feel like there's not that many.
Well, that's what everybody says, but I think
there's
it's only
more
because
now.
I'm born and raised here that I know, of a lot of people that are also born and raised here, because, we all kind of know each other, but the people who aren't originally from here don't come across us very much.
Right.
But I'm one of them.
One of the topics that we wanted to kind of bring up today, and I think that we're going to touch base on it today, and then we'll also have it in our next episode on Tuesday at 12. A lot of conversation that we're currently having is the pros and cons of waiting to buy.
Yep.
And we'll have a little graphic and kind of go over exactly the pros and cons of waiting to buy. I mean, it truly, in my opinion, and I'll show details of what I mean by this, but it truly, in my opinion, is a very good time to buy. Yep. Because the properties are only going to increase in value. Yep. Although it's going a little bit slower, but they will continue to increase. That's what it's forecasted to show. And yes, everybody's like, oh, the interest rates are high. Compared to a year ago, Perhaps, but historically, they're really truly not. And you're not married to that interest rate. When you go and you buy a home and say that the interest rate is a little bit higher now rather than, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. We'll say 6 months to a year from now, and somewhere in between, those interest rates go down. You can take advantage and refinance those. A lot of our loans are turning onto the government side of things, so like FHA, VA. And we essentially can streamline those. So when those interest rates go down, we can do what's called a streamline refinance, and it's very minimal closing costs. Most of the time, we don't have to show any type of income documentation, and we're just taking advantage of that new lower interest rate, and to make that payment lower. So we're going to touch base a little bit more on that. But in your opinion, in this market, do you believe it's a good time to buy now or to wait?
I think if you are in a financially stable position, then yes. And I think that'll vary and be subjective to each person in their whatever their situation is.
Mhm.
So if you don't have any savings, or maybe your job history isn't there, your credit's not there, then it's probably not the best time for you to buy, because you probably don't qualify for much or something that is financeable, possibly. However, I think that if you've been doing everything you're supposed to do, you have a stable job, you have a steady income, and you can afford it, then absolutely it's a good time to buy, because you're going to be paying rent for probably around the same amount anyway.
Mhm.
And your rent is probably going to go up as insurance goes up. You're not going to have any of the freedoms that you have when you actually own your home. You're not gaining any equity. If you have
You're paying
animals,
somebody else's mortgage.
exactly. If you have animals, you have to pay even more money for that. So
Mhm.
let's just say, as an average, $2,000 a month is your rent. You have to come up with first, last, and security, plus your application fees and whatever other deposits, if you have animals, for that to begin with. So you should have, if you have at least $6,000 in your bank account, you might have a little bit more. And I think it's worth talking to a professional, saying, hey, what do I qualify for? Do I need to work on my credit? Is it a good time for me to buy? Is this realistic? Then
We can
there's,
make that plan.
yeah, you can
Sure.
make a plan, even if it's a year out or 6 months or something. But, if you're paying that money anyway to live, you might as well be paying into something that you own, and potentially you can sell and make money and upgrade, downgrade, whatever you want to do in a couple years.
We
So,
also have been working with some down payment assistance programs, and they're really pretty lucrative right now. There's each county, I don't want to say every county, but a lot of counties have their own county down payment assistance. We have bond programs, we have Hometown Heroes, Homes for Heroes. There's a whole list full of down payment assistance programs that we have the experience to utilize and to offer to clients that they're not even aware that it's there.
correct.
So you never know unless you make that phone call, and to have us help guide you and tell you what's available and what you qualify for. I think that a lot of people would be surprised of what's there to offer. Just in Pasco County alone, their SHIP funds it's incredible to me. And right now, the qualifications for getting that money are pretty minimal. So basically, it's off of the income and how many people will be living in the home, and it's like a tiered qualification. And some of them are you don't make a payment for 5 years. Some of them you have very minimal payment to start. So, and it's a pretty big lump sum. So definitely
Yeah.
something to look into.
So, going back to about what I said about if you're in that position,
Mhm.
this would be to buy, that would be a good program if you're a first time home buyer to look into. And if you don't have the savings or the money, then that's something that's going to help you with your down payment. And then, like, a lot of people think, oh, I need to have 20% down. No, you don't. You can go in as little as, for FHA, 3.5%, which, would be your first, last, and security in a lot of cases. well, depending on the purchase price, or at least most of it.
Right. A lot of
Um,
times with those programs, it's even actually less than that because you're using that down payment assistance for the down payment, and you can utilize some of it for your closing cost as well. And there's a lot of things that, especially in the way that the market has turned a little bit, that if we needed to, we could essentially ask the seller to contribute towards some of those closing costs, which in turn, I mean, really could be, okay, you have dot 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 dollar amount that you have to contribute for your down payment assistance. We'll say that it's $1,500. You essentially could get into a home out of pocket for $1,500 as long as everything is guideline wise. Okay, so we're meeting all the guidelines for down payment assistance as well as whatever our financing portion of that is as well. So definitely it's a conversation. I call it painting the picture and putting all of our ducks in a row and making sure that we cross all the boxes, and that it's the best financial decision for you at that time. And the only way we can do that is to educate and to show you. So
yeah. And that's, one of the main reasons that, Lindsay and I, came up with this idea to do this show is, to make sure people are educated on home buying and, what to expect. And if you are financially stable as far as your income, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. And it's also great for us because we plan to have guests on, every week.
Yeah.
And so, like your insurance agents, your homeowners inspectors, let's say a roofer, so, and going back to what we said earlier, this industry is ever changing. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. So that's a part of our jobs, wanting to educate ourselves and help educate you guys. So that way, homeownership is really not that impossible dream, and it's actually attainable for people if if they ask the right questions, and talk to the right people. So, and I think that
not scary. I've had clients that were scared of, because of the unknown. So my job, I feel like, is to educate and to hold their hand, so to speak, and show them the way to make it as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's another part of our teamwork and what I do, whether I'm working with Lindsay or I have another like a seller, or if I have a different mortgage broker or lender that we're working with, they wanted to use that instead. So I always suggest Lindsay, of course, but I can't force anybody to use anybody. I can always just make the suggestions. But I have found out in the recent past and even years ago that letting my clients know that it's okay to shop.
Yeah.
And if they already have somebody like one of these, like your regular bank, like I don't want to talk down on anybody else, but sometimes these like Bank of America's or Wells Fargo's or whatnot, or Rocket Mortgage, they might not have the same tools as others, and I tend to find that they don't work as hard or think outside the box, because I typically don't like to take the first answer and say, okay, that's the only way it is. Like, we have to say, okay, well, what about this scenario? Can we try this? Can we try that? You have to ask questions in order to make sure that you have literally tried every different scenario to get these people either a higher approval, or if there's a different route that we need to take in order to get just something done. I mean, I know that's all very vague of me to say, but there's just so many different scenarios that we run across, like, and sometimes it's, just house specific, with taxes and insurance, and there's a lot that goes into it, basically.
There is. And some of those bigger banks, they're very automated, which in some cases are good. But in other cases, like, it really does, like, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. And just from that conversation and gathering, their plans and how many children that they have and the things that, they're doing within their life. Sometimes just that conversation triggers something that allows them to qualify for something else, or it's a little bit more personal than sitting on a computer and filling out an application and
Right.
seeing what comes up, type of thing.
Right.
So yes, you're right. It just is a different conversation than some of the bigger banks. And I'm not downplaying them. I mean, it is what it is.
Different programs, and sometimes they could be more beneficial. Just depends on everybody's scenario, you know. And I think that also too, like you and I are both with first time home buyers, so we have to take that class and we have to be registered with them for each individual county. I'm only with Pasco right now, but it's very easy for me to take that class for another county.
Yep.
But that's a question that comes up when we're talking to these people. Hey, are you a first time home buyer? Or, what's your scenario? What's your occupation? So then that way we know if it's a possibility for them to qualify for some assistance with a different program.
Yeah. The other day, this is something, like I said, I learn every day, that our hometown heroes, and basically hometown heroes are like our first responders or teachers, nurses, anybody in that type of industry. There's actually I don't know how many page document of people that qualify for it. And some of the jobs that are on there, I'm like, oh, wow, cool. A massage therapist, that's on there as like a hometown hero. It's awesome. But anyway, that you can actually combine your hometown heroes with your county down payment assistance and utilize both of them. It was amazing to me. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's that's an even, bigger lump sum to be able to utilize and keep your mortgage payment down. And yes, one of them, is on a repayment plan, but it's minimal. The amount that you're receiving from these entities is pretty great.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And it's crazy that not a lot of people know that is out there for them.
Yeah. Or that they won't qualify, and, more people do than don't.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure.
Well, Ms. Kayla, I'm excited on our weekly little breaks here. And you can tune in or subscribe to us, and we will come live to you every Tuesday at noon. We just did like a little 30-minute lunch break. And we're looking forward to it. Like Kayla said, we're going to have lots of guests, just questions within the industry. So please log on, ask your questions. There's no stupid question. The more questions that we get, the more somebody else has that same question. So let's try to help them as well.
Yeah, the more we can help educate everybody, and ourselves. You might have a question that we don't know that we have, but we want to know.
We'll find out.
We want to know all the information. And if you want to hear about a specific topic or you have questions about that, feel free to reach out and say, hey, this is something that I really want to hear about. And then, we'll do it.
Send a message. That would be great. If they come up with topics that they want to know about, that would be fantastic. So.
Yeah. Or if there's somebody that they want to see on our show, or if you are somebody that you want to be on our show, we wanted to keep it short and sweet on your lunch break, 30 minutes. We just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves and talk to you about what the reason for our show is today. So we didn't do any live Q&A, but following weeks we will be.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining, Miss Kayla, in your car there, going to your appointments for the day.
I didn't want to give myself away, but sometimes my office is my car, and that's just where it was today. But the show must go on.
It does. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.